welcome back to the Nullified Take channel here on YouTube, where I've got the TNT takes for you on the challenge. More so specifically, we're talking about the Challenge World Championship, because currently on Paramount Plus, this season is getting very close to finishing. I believe we may have about 2 episodes left before we say goodbye to all of our new favorite MVPs and legends that are being created within this franchise, a franchise that I'm very passionate about. So I wanted to touch on a little bit of a different topic here for the day. I wanted to talk about what should the challenge do next, right? They tried this whole concept of getting the World Championship up off the ground. They gave the Challenge Australia its own franchise, the UK and Argentina, but they snubbed my home country. They snubbed South Africa, which to me is an absolute travesty, because South Africa has got some great personalities, specifically in Survivor, because that's the show that I've been following very closely. And also for the Australian version, I was severely disappointed when I didn't get to see some of my favorite Australian survivors play within the challenge. And that's not taking away anything from some of the new legends that we had now, or the new great players that came to the game, like Troy and Kiki. Emily, hate her or love her, she has brought something to the show, so definitely she does deserve her spot there as well. And Grant actually even punched way above where I thought he would be able to do within the season. But for this specific video, I'm going to go into 8 players from both the Australian Survivor franchise and the Survivor South African franchise that I think should be on the challenge in the future. So either they go straight to the World Championship and they do a War of the Worlds type of season, or they finally give South Africa its due and they give them their own season, so we can see some of these previous players or other reality TV stars compete within the South African version. I'm sure there's a lot of great reality TV out there that I don't follow, and there's some great personalities that I'm not aware of. But for this, I can only focus on Survivor South Africa because that is the one I've followed the closest. All right, I have gone on about this for too long. Let's get straight into my top 8 picks for the challenge. They should get the call for World Championship, or even just for the challenge main TV show. I think they would all translate really well to the franchise. Number 1, and the person I probably want to see the most, but I want to see all of these 8 on there, is going to be none other than Francois Chapman. He's known as Chappies in South Africa. In my opinion, he is the face of Survivor South Africa, probably with one other player in Dino, who's become really such a great ambassador for Survivor South Africa as well. But Chappies is an absolute character. So for me, when it comes to choosing these players, I'm looking for personality, I'm looking for strategic chops, someone that can put a plan together, maybe someone that's a little bit devious, and someone that is actually good at challenges, because I don't want to put anybody on this show that is just going to be cannon fodder. The reason I'm enjoying World Championships is because there are legitimate players out there that are actually challenging the legends of the game. And that's what I want to see. I want to see people that can stand their own ground, push back on the legends, and make it an interesting season, because the legends are not going to push each other. They're all friends, they're all mates, they don't want to put each other in there. Like Jordan said, they play for honor, and honor is more important than a great TV show sometimes. Listen, I'm being a little bit harsh, but if I was out there and I was friends with these people, I get it. It must be tough. But that's why I want new and fresh blood in the game. So if Chappies was to go out there, he is someone that has got a massive personality. When he played his season in Survivor South Africa Immunity Island, he was a little bit controversial for some people in the beginning, and they thought he was this big macho alpha guy that wanted to run the game very early on. And very early on, he was a bit of an outcast, and they wanted to get him out of the game. But as the show continued on, we learned more and more about Chappies, the person behind the character, and he is a great human being. He was good socially, people started liking him, and then they forgot about him until the merge. And when the merge hit, he went on in 5 individual immunity run streak, which is a record in South Africa. He's tied for the most individual immunities in South Africa. One of these other people might be mentioned as well within this list. So someone that can clearly win. And what makes Chappies really dangerous is the fact that he is good with puzzles. He's good at the physical endurance stuff. He's a great swimmer. He even saved some of his tribe mates' life when they were in a river and they were drowning. So this is a guy that's larger than life and would translate extremely well to the show. There would be a lot more Chappie stands out there if he was to make the main show. All right, we're going down under for this next person. The second person I'm nominating to get that call from the casting team of The Challenge is going to be none other than one of the queens of Australian Survivor, Hayley Leake. Now, Hayley Leake is an absolute legend in the Australian Survivor game. She just recently came back to play in their version of Heroes versus Villains, but she is someone that holds the record for most individual immunities in a season. She's got 5 individual immunities, but that alone, the fact that she's a threat with her brains, with her physicality, her endurance, kind of across the board, just an all-rounder, is not even the biggest reason why I'm nominating her. The biggest reason I'm nominating Hayley is because she played in a season with one of the best strategists we've ever seen on any show, and she beat him in her first season. So Hayley is someone that definitely strategically will be able to go toe-to-toe with anybody in the challenge. She is someone that would want to win the money because she has just gotten married. I think she's probably going to have to be persuaded to come back to reality TV because she's probably wanting to retire from it for a bit, I would imagine, to start a family. But I think $500,000 might persuade her to come back and do the show. She gives great confessionals. She's a gamer throughout. And I think that if the challenge was ever to come back to Australia, the fact that she wasn't on the first season, maybe it was the fact that this Heroes versus Villains season was filming close to the time when they were doing the Challenge Australia, but it was a travesty that she wasn't on there, and I have to nominate Hayley Leake as my second person to go out there. I think people would really gravitate towards her and they would like her on the show. She's a strong female competitor that would really not stand back for anyone if she was to get the shot to go and play the challenge. All right, so my third person that I'm going to be nominating here to go and play the challenge, and I'm hoping that casting gives them a call, is someone that I've actually interviewed on, not this channel, but the previous channel I used to be on, and his name is Rob Bentle. Now, Rob is seen by many people as probably the godfather of Survivor South Africa. A lot of people believe he's the best to ever play in South Africa. I am potentially one of those people. I've never really done a winners ranking, but he would definitely feature very high up on that winners ranking, and I also think he features high up in any Survivor winner ranking when it comes to Survivor winners across the board. So Rob Bentle played a season in a very dominant fashion, similar to like a Kim Spradlin and a Boston Rob when he came back to play. The only difference is, obviously, I always think he's closer to Kim because it was his first season and he's never come back to play again. For good reason. I think he would have a ginormous target on his back if he was to come back and play the game again. But, you know, Rob is someone that I think would translate really well to the international audience. He's great socially. He will be having no issues integrating himself with the vets and potentially making great alliances. Think about someone that has got that great social ability to just be your friend, and everybody wants to be your friend, but then also he's really good strategically. He's great at winning individual immunities. He's tied with Chappies for the most individual immunity wins in a Survivor South Africa season, which is basically the international record as well. No one's ever been able to break that 5 individual immunity streak. And again, all-rounder. Great at the physical stuff, great at the mental stuff, great at the endurance stuff, and I know that Rob wants to play the challenge. So challenge casting team, if you ever listen to this, you know, if you stumble across my video, give Rob Bentle a call. He's also currently in great shape. I believe he's doing some mixed martial arts and getting into some stuff. But physically, the guy is an athlete. He's a genetic freak, and he would do extremely well if he was ever given the chance to go out and play the challenge. All right, staying on the African continent, let's bring in one of the other big personalities from Survivor South Africa. I am nominating Phil Dixon, who came back recently to play in Return of the Outcasts as a competitor to go out there and play the challenge. I know for a fact Phil would want that $500,000 or $1 million, depending on what the format of the show is, if he was ever to go and play, because that goes a long way in South Africa, I can tell you that much. And Phil is one of the biggest personalities we've ever seen on Survivor South Africa. He came back in Return of the Outcasts and had some of the best one-liners you would ever hear. I was laughing and rolling on the floor when I met with Leroux Botha and we had a lunch. just off camera, he said to me, Phil is now the gold standard for what they want from someone if they were to go onto the show and deliver confessionals. And that is the highest of praise that you can get from a producer of the show. So, Phil would come in, he would be entertaining, he would also be the oldest potential person out of all of them that I'm nominating right now. He's 41, but we know that the challenge does have older competitors still mixing it with the young ones, and some of them are extremely good. And Phil is great. He's not just good at the confessional side of it, he's not just funny at the strategic and sometimes sloppy strategic side of it, of what he brings to the game, but he's also good at winning individual immunities. He won 4 in his season, and a season that was pretty stacked with some returning players. I think that's not something to be brushed off easily, and it showed that he's got a natural ability to figure out puzzles, figure out the physical stuff, and potentially would be underestimated as someone that could be a layup, when he definitely won't be a layup if he does go onto the season. And I think that he would bring a lot to the show. So give Phil Dixon a call as somebody that I would like to see return and play on the challenge. All right, so this next person, I'm probably going to butcher their last name, so if she does listen to this, I apologize. I'm not too sure how to pronounce it, and I always get it wrong when it comes to pronunciation of names and things like that. But I would like for Shea LaJoie to come and play the game again. Shea played in Blood versus Water. She was an absolute beast that season at winning individual immunity challenges, and her partner at the time was seen as the biggest power couple threat in that Blood versus Water season, where they were targeted very early on for good reason. Shea won 3 individual immunity challenges, which is probably one of the lower hit rates for the people that I've mentioned so far in this list, but she went up against Mark Wales, who is an absolute beast, and she went up against Jordy, who is also an absolute beast, and Josh. She's a very straightforward, straight shooter kind of person. Think like maybe Laurel from the challenge. She would tell it to you straight how she thinks about you, what she thinks. She's not going to be sugarcoating things and playing it up for the cameras or anything like that. But I do think that even if she's got this straightforward personality who doesn't want to play games, her competitive spirit is next level. So if somebody's going to throw her in, it's not going to be easy to take her out, and she would fight until the bitter end. And for me, she's definitely one of the biggest beasts when it comes to the Australian Survivor franchise. And since we've already seen Brooke Jowett on the challenge, I'm not including her in this list. So I think Shea is a great person to represent, with Brooke not on this list from Australia. All right, we're going back to back down under, and I am going to nominate the next person I want to see on the challenge, and that is going to be Jordy, the Joker Hanson. Now, on Survivor, I sometimes wasn't the biggest fan of Jordy's gameplay in his first season, so I know some people may be surprised that I'm putting him up there. He did come back to play a second season, and he was extremely likable as a Survivor player, but I do think, even though he potentially overplayed his hand on Survivor, and listen, he was clearly one of the production and casting team's favorites because they gave him so much content that season. I mean, he even got his own nickname. I don't think the way he played Survivor in his first season was necessarily effective, because he was creating a lot of paranoia, a lot of drama, but he wasn't effective and subtle in the way that he did it. But he did bring a lot of crazy gameplay, and he did bring a lot of excitement to the show, and a show that didn't have that many big personalities when it came to bringing some of these chaotic types of scenes and strategies to the game. He definitely was a bit of a bright light, which is, I think, why they focused so much on him in that season. I do think Jordy, with his alter ego, the Joker, would fit in extremely well in the challenge. The player that I think is the closest to Jordy currently on the main show would maybe be like a Jay, but I would say that Jay, even as chaotic as he can be at times, his personality is toned down to even Jordy's. Jordy would be an even bigger and better Jay on the show when it comes to just creating drama and crazy gameplay, and he won't be afraid to go down, because he is someone that is a legitimate athlete. He's great at endurance, he's great at the physical stuff. I can't remember how good he is at the puzzles, but Jordy definitely would not be an easy beat if he was to get the call on there. And now Jordy has something else to play for. He's got his firstborn, he's a dad, so I think he would go in there playing extremely hard, and I would love to see how he would do with the cast that I've already mentioned and the cast that is yet to come on this list. All right, going into number 7 is my favorite player of Australian Survivor. I am extremely biased when I want this guy, but I also know that a lot of people do love this guy because he's called the People's Champion. 2-time Australian Survivor legend, Australian Big Brother winner, Toki. is someone that I would love to see go out and play on the island. Him and Chappies have got a lot of parallels because they both had this larger-than-life personality. They both stole rice from their camp and ate it. And they are both kind of devious. They want to do the spy shacks, so clearly inspired by like a Tony Vlachos. Clearly Chappies also was inspired by like a Luke Toki. So seeing them both on the same tribe would be extremely fun. But the one thing that I think people forget about Luke Toki, and it's definitely something that his fellow Survivor players know about him, is that he probably has a social game that could rival Surrey Fields. And I don't say this lightly. People love this guy. And they know that if he was ever to make it to the end of any game and it was a social competition, they would always lose to him. So his social game, next level. People are going to love him. People are going to love the jokes. People are going to love the lightheartedness that he brings to a show. Plus, you know, he is strategic and makes really good strategic decisions in both of his seasons. Like maybe his first season he was a little bit sloppy in the beginning, but by the second season he was a legitimate threat, and I would put him up there with some of the best strategists to ever play an Australian Survivor. And then the other part of it is he also has a physical game because he won 4 individual immunities in the second season that he came back, showing that he is versatile when it comes to puzzles, physical, and endurance. And I will also say this about someone like Luke Toki. He is a pretty big boy. So if they were going to throw him in a hall brawl, he's not going to go very easily, and he is still training and probably in better shape now than what he was when he came back the second time, and definitely in better shape than he was the first time he played. So Luke Toki, he should have gotten the call. He was one of the 2 people I was the most shocked about not getting a call for the Challenge Australia, but I hope that they finally do it justice, either put him on the Challenge Australia 2 if it does come out, or put him on the main show. I think he's a big enough character to go straight into the main show. He also reminds me of Rupert from Survivor US, because Rupert was given the $1 million by the fans. Well, when Luke Toki played his second time and was the fallen angel of that season, the fans loved him that much that they started a GoFundMe for him, and they actually donated the winnings to Luke Toki because they loved him so much. This is how big this character is. This is how big this person is in the Australian Survivor fandom. Put this guy on the show. All right, so the 8th and last person that I'm going to nominate, and I could go on, there's a lot more people, but I want to keep it to 8 here for this video, is going to be, again, someone from Survivor South Africa. We've had 3 guys so far, no women. This is going to be the first woman I'm going to nominate, and it's going to be Steffi Brink, from Vake Brink, as she is now known, because she is married. And Steffi has just had her first child, so I don't know if she's going to be mentally ready and if she's even going to be wanting to go, because I know that when you just have your firstborn, you want to be around there for the kid, and that's why a lot of the times you don't see people coming back to reality TV or go back to work. It is definitely something that women have to deal with, and I feel like mentally she might not be ready to do this, but Steffi is a beast. She has represented Namibia in athletics. She has played at the national level for rugby sevens in South Africa, which, you know, South African rugby is very tough to get to the top. And she is built and bred for a show such as The Challenge. She's a very strong personality. She would not be stepped on. She's great entertaining in confessionals. And I think that even if people are pissed off or feared, like, in fact, I actually think the closest person to Steffi on The Challenge would be Natalie Anderson. I think she gets onto the show, people will be physically intimidated by her. And I can't see anybody taking her out on a physical contest right now from The Challenge. I don't think that person exists. So I'll put that challenge out there for the casting crew. Put Steffi on, put her on a hall brawl, put her on a pole wrestle or something physical. I think Steffi walks out. I would put my money on her every single time. Steffi also played in the same season as Rob Bentle, and there is some bad blood between them because they had an alliance that at some point they had to turn on each other, and that bad blood might go over into the main show. But Steffi is really good friends with Chappies, and Chappies is friends with Rob. So there could be an interesting trio dynamic there where would they work together, would they not work together, could Chappies be the glue that put them together? And Steffi hasn't won as many individual immunities as you potentially would think she would have won. I think she's only won 1 in her 2 seasons. But the biggest reason for that is because she went head to head with Rob in his season, and he was just a freak of nature and won most of those, with her being very close to winning some of those individual immunities. And then in her second season, she was that big of a beast in the team portion, similar to her first season, where people were so afraid of her by the time that she got to the merge, they knew they had to deal with her very quickly, otherwise she could run away with a lot of individual immunities in that season. Steffi is a complex personality. I love complex personalities. She's someone that has got a softer side to her, if she does bond with people out there, but her fighting spirit and her big personality is the reason I would love to see Steffi on the show. Now, those are my top 8 contenders that I would like to go onto the challenge. I would like to see them translate over to the main show. Who would be, if you're a Survivor South Africa fan and an Australian Survivor fan, who of these players would you like to see make it over onto another reality TV show such as the challenge? I don't know if the overlap between challenge and Survivor fans are there. This is just the video I wanted to make because I watch all 3 of these shows, and I have been loving what the World Championship has been bringing our way. I think this is the way forward for the challenge. I think that bringing in very strong MVPs that can challenge, like Danny has done this season, like Sarah has done this season, challenge the regime that is there, is going to bring back life to this franchise, which at times to me has become stale when you know the same people are going to look out for each other and always going to be at the end. It's like you're just seeing the same show over and over. Why do you care about the first half of the season? Anyways, this is something a little bit different. I do want to do more of this short form content because, as some of you may know or not know, I will be traveling quite a bit over the next 7 to 8 months. And I will have free time every now and again to sit down and maybe do wider topics such as this. So if you like it and you want me to do more of this type of content, hit the like button, comment below with your own thoughts. Who did I miss out on? I know I didn't mention Simon from this last season, and some people might give me grief about that. I kind of didn't want to... I was looking between Jordy and Simon, and I feel like Jordy would translate better to the challenge, but Simon would be a close second. There's also Harry Hills, who's a big fan of the challenge, who I'd love to see go over and play. There's both the Nicoles for South Africa that was very close to making it on my list, as well as potential people that can go over and play in such a challenge season. But those are the ones for now. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. We're getting very close to 2,000 subs here on the channel, which is exciting to me. It's a goal I had from the beginning of the year. Thanks so much. Catch you guys next time. Bye.